Bongani Morgan is an award-winning filmmaker, director, and writer with a passion for authentic, resonant storytelling. Bongani is a multifaceted creator with experience in film, TV commercial, and digital production. Some of Bongani's work includes the Football Search TV show Nedbank Ke Yona Team Search, a short satirical black comedy film, Coup De Grace, SAFTA winning TV show, Braai with cast, and a first-of-its-kind documentary telling a heroic story about the first South African to score a try in a Rugby World Cup titled MAP1MP1, the Makazole Mapimpi Story.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Young Professionals with me, Unalali. Now, today I have been graced by the presence of an awe-inspiring, award-winning filmmaker, director, and writer. Help me welcome Bongani Morgan.
Thank you for having me.
Just congratulations on your SAFTA.
I missed the awards. I was just busy prepping other work and stuff. And I got a call from my producer, I think around close to midnight, saying we won. And it was very confusing because, I was just like, won what? And I'd forgotten, to be honest, it was the SAFTAs. And a couple of calls and stuff. That evening was, my sister, my brothers just calling and stuff. So it was pretty cool. I've always wanted to be a filmmaker, a director, but to pinpoint it, I think I'd have to start at the age of 5, having watched Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I just remember having sort of like this profound reaction to the film without fully understanding the implications. And I remember my mom would say, it was at that moment when he said, whatever it was that was responsible for the whole thing, you wanted to be that. And that conscious decision didn't happen until mid-high school, when I fully grasped the concept or the potential of being a director. And I sort of roped in my friends and we started getting up to shenanigans at school.
Now, talk me through then the high school and actually being in the industry and being a heavyweight like yourself right now. What's the journey been like?
Look, it's been an incredibly, thoroughly difficult journey. I think thinking back from high school, making films, short films, DIY films with my friends, to getting the opportunity to study film. I went to SAFTA to study directing and film writing. Extremely difficult because art schools are notoriously expensive, and the hurdle of understanding the art form, learning to fail forward, accepting failures as a fundamental that builds you, that teaches you, our industry is weird because it's encouraged to fail forward, but then at the same time, you can't really afford to fail when you're a practitioner professionally, because you only get that one chance to really showcase what you can do. So it's a fine line, and that's where I sort of encourage film school, because you can fail and the consequences are contained within the structure of learning. So that's been the challenges, and meeting, finding different people, finding different voices, different skills, and learning how to collaborate.
For you personally, what does storytelling mean?
Storytelling for me is this conduit that sort of attempts to express the meaning of being, the essence of existence. And, it entertains, it informs, and sometimes if it can do those two things, it can even transcend and thought and provoke a different sort of thinking.
I do want to speak on the Mapimpi documentary. There are certain caricatures and there are certain boxes and norms that Black stories have been boxed into, right? And especially when it comes to a story of triumph and a story of going against the odds, there's so much poverty porn that is the natural narrative. How did you make sure that that story was dignified? Because I found it that way.
No, thank you so much. Just thinking about what you just mentioned about Makazole, that try-scoring moment gave me goosebumps. Funny story, I'm busy watching the World Cup with my friends, and he does what he does there. And it's like, what are the chances that a couple of months later you get a call up to do docu? But sure, it's been a very good. It's a great question actually, because that's been a point of discussion when I presented my visual ambitions for the docu. Was we understood very well, his story was not well documented, where he came from and stuff, until Chasing the Sun. So it was very important, I think, for my producers to understand, and for me to show the people the plight, the reality of where he grew up, where he came from, without glorifying Inhlupheko, Yase Eastern Cape, specifically his village. So we couldn't shy away from the lack of resources as Lalini, the amount of things he had to get through. But what we needed to do was to show the honesty. Yes, he was impoverished, but then his poverty did not define the way he saw the world. He was a kid who wanted to be a Springbok, despite the fact that Badlala rugby with plastic bags put together. And he wanted to be a Springbok. He walked 10 Ks just to go play, and this is purely for the fun of it. And those guys, they got paid cents on their come up. So it really was just honoring the fact that across many townships, many rural areas, many spaces in South Africa that are deemed as poor just from an economic point of view, it doesn't take anything less to say that these people are actually full-rounded human beings with ambitions and dreams. And those hopeless situations don't define them. That's what leads to great character. And I remember chatting to my producer saying, well, Makazole, his story reads like a movie, man. It's insane, because that's what it is. It's like a proper superhero origin story, and that's what it was. It's also about the human being that he is and the people who surround himself. That's what led to the dignity of the story being told. And I'm glad that you found there was a dignity to it, because that was my biggest fear, was the poverty aspect will be there and it's going to build it up. But I didn't want it to be a sob story, because it's so much more than that.
I'm glad you did it, man. Like, that documentary was incredible, because I was also like looking for that, because so often in like all of our lives as Black people, whether you're applying for a scholarship or whatever it is, you constantly have to perform our poverty. And it's like, well, we are not, that's not all we are. We have dreams and aspirations. So to see him in that light was incredible. What differentiates a great storyteller from an average one?
I think it's just a commitment to the concept, to the idea of the story you're telling, and using everything that you have at your disposal. It's always a thing of, it had budget and money, but it's always what the concept, the idea, the story evokes in you. As a director, you're a manager of the creative, the manager of the idea. So the biggest difference is that it has to appeal to your senses, how you see the world, what gets you ticking, and you do everything you can in your power to protect. And hopefully that translates and it resonates with the greater audience.
As a creative, you also have to have that confidence that I have something to say, and I have an audience to say it to. So have you had those moments of doubt, and how did you overcome that?
Does it ever go away, imposter syndrome? Yes, extremely. Every single time, even at this level, I think in my career, whenever a project lands my way, and it's always a thing of going in my mind, oh God, is this the one where I get caught out and it goes downhill? But the doubt comes from, am I worthy to beat the challenge? Can I bring myself to the demands of the project? I've always had this appetite of, but our audience deserves better, a better sense of scape, of scope, of storytelling. So the bit of that imposter syndrome comes from the fact that, can I honor my audience, the audience, into giving something quite substantial for them to invest their time in and money in? So yeah.
So what people don't understand about this industry, which is for me personally, I think is a positive and a negative. You can have the qualifications, but your personality, your attitude, and reputation precedes your qualifications. Yeah. So as someone who's in the space and maybe has some opportunities to like give to younger aspiring filmmakers, you know, or even advice to give them, what do you think they must bring to the table?
First things first is just a sense of commitment to the project. You know, are you committed to being in this art form? Because despite maybe popular belief, it's, if you're in it for like the money will come, and the money does get good.
Money doesn't come as quickly as in other
Yeah.
industries.
Yeah.
I know that firsthand. You kind of have
Yeah.
to pay your dues before you can really see the revenue in this industry. So
Yes.
what can you say to the families, our families now, filmmakers families, creators families? What's the one thing that you need them to understand?
Being a filmmaker is very much being a creator, to be honest, in any form of creativity, is very much like being a parent. You have a baby, you have to invest in the potential of the baby. You may not see the return on investment. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of nurturing, and making sure you're guiding, and you're distilling this baby, this form that's taking shape. So they have to support this endeavor, and I'm hoping as time goes on, the industry becomes a bit more easier to allow parents to understand how lucrative it can be for kids, who have this vested interest in it, and it stands to benefit them, because there's many ways you can find your passions, and being a creative, you need all the support you can get. It's just we feel energies very well. So it's just like a child growing up in a healthy home, loving environment. When that is done, no matter the challenge, you create a full, well-rounded human being who can stand through any challenge. So it's very important.
Whoever wants to join the film industry, what advice do you have for them?
Sure. I'll just speak from an honest truth, man. I think, there's that old thing of saying family, the support, and my family throughout entirely has been extremely supportive, of this crazy dream, this endeavor. But I think the biggest advice is surrounding yourselves with people who really care about you and about your personal development, and likewise with your peers, because I wouldn't be a filmmaker without my friends from high school. So we all sort of banded together and formed this sort of collective, and we supported each other. We went to each other's submissions for varsity. We made music together. We shot films together. We wrote together. We drew together. So what I'm saying is, surround yourselves with like-minded individuals, and that will manifest in fostering a great relationship to help you in spaces. No matter how talented you can be, can you show up? Showing up is very important. Keeping to your word, being reliable. Other tenants I would look for personally, because as you might know, our industry is very topsy-turvy. The nature of it doesn't matter if you're in Hollywood or South Africa. You can have this plan, but it's about how character can help you stay through and stay true. Yeah.
So I do want to know, does Bongani Morgan have a little cute dream, and how do you like visualize it every day?
Definitely. I think one of my dreams has been realized. I'm still coming to terms with what this accolade of the SAFTA means personally to me, to my family. I think they're more overhyped and over ecstatic than I would be. It's only now. I'm a bit of a late bloomer, so things take a while before they crystallize or they impact. So definitely, I think the SAFTAs is definitely one of the biggest dreams ever. Certainly an Oscar would be awesome to have in the future. But I think the dream would be, once we get the access right in our country, where all the young talented people can get a sense of an equitable footing in the space, and just to elevate our film TV industry. Our commercial industry is pretty much there on a world-class level. But if we can really elevate our television and film industry, our film industry is very difficult to get going, but there's potential. That would be a dream fulfilled, especially our generation, our zeitgeist, give us about 10 years or so to really start putting things in work to make these things happen. I want to see you there at the Oscars.
The pressure is getting worse. Well, guys, that is the end of our interview with Bongani Morgan. Please follow him on all the social media networks and keep up with him. He's a true inspiration. And if you are thinking about becoming a director, a storyteller, a filmmaker, a writer, yeah, man, there is space for you and you really can do it. It's not a silly dream. You really can do it. And he is a living example of the greatness that you can achieve in believing in your dream and having the right people around you. From me, Unolali, and Bongani, the great, we'll see you next time. Bye.